Hello friends, I recently got a firmware update on my Launchkey Mini, so I wanted to talk about some of the new features and problems that they fixed. Alright, so one of my favorite things that came with this firmware update is they fixed the brightness on the pads. As soon as I had that update, they dimmed a lot and it was really nice because it was about perfect for where I wanted them. And they also made it so you can adjust the brightness manually. Hold shift while plugging in your controller. So once you're in this mode, you can adjust the brightness using your octave buttons. This button here will lock your drum pads on velocities. So if you're someone that likes your pads to be consistently loud, no matter how soft or light you're hitting them, that setting is very useful. And I'm actually not sure what these three buttons over here do. I haven't found anyone explaining it, and I couldn't figure it out by just turning them on and off and going back and forth. And then once you're done with those settings, you can hit the play button, and it automatically just resets it, so you don't need to unplug it and plug it back in. Another update that's really cool is they allow you to have this arpeggiator strumming, and I'll show you what that means. So I'm just going to set up my arpeggiator. I will do up and down, eighth notes, 2 octaves. So that's working as normal. But if you hold down the ARP button and press this circle icon, now it's going to be in strum mode. So when I hold down a chord, you won't hear any sound, but then the modulation pad becomes a way to strum it. And a way I love to use that is with the fixed chord. Another part of the update is the fixed chord is now 12 notes long. But with the fixed chord activated, I can just play one note and then strum. So one thing I like to do is just make a chord with a lot of notes. And then just press random parts of the strip and it gives some unique sounds. Has a kind of nice randomness to it. That's how it feels, is you're not entirely sure what each press of the pad is going to do, and you can get some just unpredictability that way. Another update they did is that if you double tap your shift mode, it's just locked to that position. And that's very useful if you're in session mode. So instead of having to hold shift in order to move it, you can just have it locked and then make your movements that way. Another feature they added is that if you double tap the arpeggiator knob, this is all locked, so I can make my settings without having to hold it down. And that's mimicked up here on these pads, and that was not a thing before. It used to be you could only do it with the keys. And that's useful because what you can do is you can hold down a chord and then make changes to the arpeggiator while you're performing it. And then these buttons up here are just your latch or your strum mode, so you can turn those on and off as well. Yeah, so these firmware updates are really helpful, and I had a lot of fun discovering these new ways to use it. But I've also discovered a couple of ways to use the controller that were available before. I just didn't know about them. So the first thing I'd like to show is just the Transpose knob. So if you have a melody loop that's in a key that's hard for you to play, you can change the key on your keyboard to accommodate that and still play in the key that you're more familiar in. So for instance, this is an A sharp minor, and let's say that I'm really good at A minor and I want to be able to perform in solo in that key. What I can do is I can hold down the transpose button, and then each of these pads now represents a half step. So if I press the first one and I have it in transpose mode, every note that I play is going to be up one half step. I do recommend, of course, learning the key and not just relying on that, but it's really nice to have it as a tool, especially if you're having trouble soloing or coming up with ideas in the key that you're in. Previously, when I was explaining the device mode for the knobs, I thought you could only use it for live devices, but I recently found a way to use these knobs on any instrument that you have. So what I can do is I can click the configure knob, and then I'm going to click all of the parameters that I want to be able to control. So a common way to do this would just to be clicking all of the macro knobs that are in Massive. So as you can see, I have those on the bottom there, and then if I switch it to device mode, my knob will automatically control those parameters in order. And what's nice about this is that once you have that set up, you can change the presets, and it's going to stay to those 8 macros in Massive. I found that really useful, especially since I'm usually custom mapping those. It's nice to just be able to set it and then have it working well for whatever preset you have on. I loved this keyboard before, but now I have an even greater appreciation for it. It just does so much in such a small, affordable package, especially if you use Ableton. This is really the controller that you want. Alright, thank you for making it to the end. Let me know if there's anything I missed and what your favorite feature is of the Launchkey Mini.